Now today I have a very special video for you guys. We are going to be analyzing and reviewing a brand new income focused ETF that I know at least 99% of all of you guys are going to be very interested in. This ETF offers exposure to a high quality basket of holdings, and on top of that seeks a ton of income, which if you're anything like myself, you guys cannot get enough of. Now the ETF that I'm talking about is ticker symbol OMAH, or the VistaShares Target 15 Berkshire Select Income ETF. Now the provider of this ETF, VistaShares, was nice enough to sponsor today's video, but as always, like you guys know, I'm not being paid to speak positively or negatively about this ETF, but instead just to share some of the facts with you guys, and at the end give my honest opinion on whether or not I like the ETF, etc. So like I said, you guys are definitely going to want to stick around because this is without a doubt one of the coolest ETFs I personally have came across in a long time. Now if this interests you at all, make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. So heading over to VistaShares.com, which again you guys should also do. As always, poke around at any ETFs I talk about on my channel, see if they fit what you're looking for. Maybe some do, maybe some don't. But it says right here on VistaShares, the ETF overview, reasons to consider OMAH. Let's read through. It says first, seeks high monthly income generation. OMAH seeks to generate high monthly income by investing in a diversified equity portfolio and implementing a data-driven options investment strategy. Now, the core equity exposure is this. OMAH provides large and mid-cap equity exposure that can be considered a portion of the core equity allocation in a well-diversified portfolio. Now, also professional option management, which we're going to talk a little bit more about the management in a second here because the management is very impressive, but it says leverage the years of experience and rigorous research process employed by the team managing VistaShares option-based income ETFs. Now here's the real magic here, the ETF summary. This is where I found this ETF extremely interesting, and this is because the VistaShares Target 15 Berkshire Select Income Fund offers investors a core equity portfolio that generally mirrors the 20 largest holdings in Berkshire Hathaway, or BRK.B, as well as providing exposure to BRK.B directly, while leveraging the experience of the portfolio management team to seek to generate high monthly income. So yes, with this ETF, you are getting exposure to some of the largest holdings in the Berkshire Hathaway basket, but along with that, through a data-driven option strategy, you're getting income potential too. Now the ETF objective, this is also very important, so listen in. It says the VistaShares Target 15 Berkshire Select Income Fund is an actively managed exchange-traded fund that seeks income and secondarily long-term capital appreciation. So again, like I always say, if you're focused on income, if you're focused on capital appreciation, whatever the case might be, figure out whatever ETF you're looking into, see what the objective of that fund is, and see if it matches what you're looking for. Now, me personally as an investor, I am looking for income and capital appreciation as sort of a secondary goal, which might or might not be like a lot of what you guys are looking for, but I always just like to say that because a lot of people get very confused when they're buying into ETFs. And I always say it's as simple as looking at whatever ETF you're interested in and seeing what it has to offer. It says the fund strategy involves two components. Number one, investing in a portfolio of equity securities based on the sole active VistaShares Berkshire Select Index. And number two, generating income through an option portfolio. Primarily through the fund's option strategies, the fund seeks to achieve an annual income target of 15% distributed monthly. Now, there's a few things so far that I personally do like about this ETF. For one, you're getting exposure to 20 of the largest Berkshire Hathaway holdings, which I personally don't really have all that much exposure to those names in my portfolio as of right now, which again, that might or might not be the case for you guys. But along with that, this ETF is seeking a 15% targeted annual income amount, which is going to be distributed monthly. Now, 15% is also right in the range that I'm sort of looking to get in my portfolio. I'm not really interested in the ultra high yielders personally, a lot of the 30, 40, 50, 100% yielders that might just track a single stock, etc. I'm not really interested in those. I'm more interested in the index-based income-oriented ETFs that do offer, say, 10%, 12%, or 14%. So this ETF so far is right in the range of what I personally am looking for. Now, the inception date of the ETF is March 5th. Like I said, this ETF is relatively brand new. It does distribute income on a monthly basis. The AUM is around 3.5 million. The expense ratio is 0.95%. Now, digging a little bit deeper into the ETF, looking at the fact sheet, again, the fund description, this is sort of going over what we already heard, but again, just so it's very clear what this ETF has to offer. And again, so far, this ETF definitely seems like something that I'm personally interested in. It says the VistaShares Target 15 Berkshire Select Income ETF, or OMAH, seeks to provide core equity exposure through a portfolio comprised of Berkshire Hathaway BRK.B and its top 20 holdings, while providing high monthly income through an option-based investment strategy, but targeting 15% annual yield distributed monthly. Now, the number of holdings in the fund as of right now on the fact sheet says 21 different holdings. Some of the top holdings are names like Berkshire Hathaway Inc. That's 10.69%. Then names like Apple, American Express, Bank of America. We have Coca-Cola, we have Chubb, we have Kraft, we have VeriSign, we have Chevron, and Visa. Now, I personally do have some exposure to some of these names, like Apple stock I own quite a bit of. I also own some shares of KO, but there are names within these top 10 holdings alone that I would not mind having more exposure to, especially through an income-oriented strategy. Names like Visa, even names like American Express. I mean, these are names that I wouldn't mind having more exposure into in my portfolio. Now, the team over at VistaShares has a lot of experience, and the lead portfolio manager actually runs $10 billion in ETF income option strategies currently. So these are by no means rookies running this ETF. Now, because this ETF is so new, you guys are probably interested in the actual distribution. And again, there's only been one distribution so far, but the first distribution as of just recent is 25 cents, which is going to be payable on March 28th of this year. Now, the first distribution is spot on to where this ETF is sort of seeking to achieve the 1.25% monthly yield or 15% target per year. So far, the ETF is spot on. But what about the price return of the ETF so far? I mean, it's only been trading for a matter of a few days, so this is sort of irrelevant, but I still always have to include it to give you guys more or less a full picture. So far, the ETF is up around 1% as far as price return goes. And again, with the holdings that this ETF has exposure to, I personally like the fact that there's some names in here that are a little bit lower beta, some that are a little bit higher beta. It's kind of a nice mix. So that for the most part is an overview on ticker symbol OMAH, the VistaShares Target 15 Berkshire Select Income ETF that so far is spot on to distribute 15% annually, which is going to be a massive amount of yield, generally speaking, compared to the rest of the markets. Now that leaves me with one last thing to go through, my personal thoughts on this ETF, if I'm personally going to add it to my portfolio, etc, etc. Now, if you guys follow me on other platforms, you guys already probably know that I did add just a few shares of this ETF to my personal portfolio as of recently, and that's just because, once again, I love the fact that it yields, or is seeking to yield, 15% annually, which is right in the range where I'm looking for, but along with that, the underlying strategy and objective does match with what I'm looking for. Now, the underlying holdings, which are some of the top holdings in, of course, the Berkshire Hathaway BRK.B, are names, like I said, that I might have some exposure to as of right now, but I don't have all that much exposure to many of them. And honestly, I love the fact that this ETF is combining some of the top names in Berkshire Hathaway, but then using an income-oriented strategy to not necessarily seek capital appreciation, but more income, which, of course, as you guys know, is something I'm personally interested in. So do I own shares of this ETF as of right now? I do. And am I planning on buying more shares and up and coming dips in the market if I, of course, see them? I 100% am. But more importantly, when it comes to this brand new ETF, I have a question for you guys down below. From what you've seen so far, from what we went over, is this ETF an ETF that you personally would add to your portfolio? Let me know yes or no in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe for more future content like this.